did, but it's more of just a kind of a conversation and how we can kind of network and kind of see as a from someone that just got out of college and was looking for potential positions to I do have a position, but I still want to continue this and kind of continue to network and see the other lenses for positions and people in the industry. So um, basically just boils down to me just wanting to reach out to new people and kind of get a glimpse, like I said. But I appreciate the time today, Chase. And I know it's just a LinkedIn kind of DM request. That's just kind of how it rolls, and I'm glad that you picked it up, and I'm glad that we be talking today.
Yeah, no, man, it's great to meet with you, and it's actually pretty genius too. Um, Keep it going. Yes, it's a networking ploy, but there is a carrot on the other side, right? There's a conversation just to get the voice out there, and just for people to learn and understand. And yeah, no, I think it's very creative. And you mentioned LinkedIn. I'm sure we'll talk about it here, but I know what it's like to be in your shoes. I know what it's like to get a bunch of non-responses, and I'm not perfect at it, but I try to respond just about everyone. You got to filter through some of the nonsense a little bit, just because as your career continues to grow, you'll see some people that have ulterior motives, or are not actually who they say they are. So you have to be careful, but obviously, when people are trying to get in this industry and understand more about what the future holds if they stay on this path, it's worthwhile to definitely want to try to give back. And the goal is when you're in similar shoes that I'm in, that you'll do the exact same thing. Which obviously, if you're doing this podcast, hope it'll continue to be very successful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I love doing it. I love just sitting down and it's just simple 30, 40 minutes of just talking about life and how one person got to where they are and me just kind of asking questions about it. So kind of, I guess to kick it off, for yourself, just kind of go through your background and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. Grew up, born and raised Dallas, Texas. We'll go a little bit of a longer story here. So I didn't know where I wanted to go to school. I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. Uh, but I played sports, always thought that I could potentially get a Division I scholarship playing basketball. That was definitely not going to be the case once I got to my senior year. And so realized that if I wanted to do something in sports, I was going to have to figure out what that is by not playing. And obviously there's the coaching path, and you hear about GMs, but the business path, especially in the mid 2000s, was not a very well talked about path. Went through a bunch of college visits and wasn't really sure where I wanted to go. The last school I looked at really was Baylor, about an hour and a half south of Dallas, Fort Worth. And when I was on my visit, I heard in the business school they had this at the time it was called sports sponsorship and sales major. And it basically was a major that you declared at the end of your sophomore year and did classes your junior and senior year, that fed right into the business side of professional and eventually college sports. And not necessarily knowing what that was, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was like, it's sports, it's business, and I'll figure the rest out there. So
Yeah.
applied, got into Baylor, and knew from as a freshman that this is what I was going to focus on and from a track perspective. Um, One of the best parts about the major is that it gave me selling experience. So being able to do class projects, the Texas Rangers, the Shell Houston Open, and a few other things gave me the calling experience of being able to talk to have conversations related to a sales product. I can vividly remember my second ever call selling something to the Texas Rangers, and it was the worst call you could have ever heard in your life. I've got my buddies on the side telling me to hang up. This guy's not going to buy, and I was selling like a church for like a faith night that the Rangers were doing, and he ended up buying 15 tickets, and it was just one of those moments of he just knew he wanted to buy. It was not because I was this great salesperson at 20 years old. But it was really good experience because by the time I got to my senior year, I definitely had more of an understanding of how this was going to work. And the S3 program, as it was called for short, still called that for short today, um, they had the San Francisco 49ers on the board. And heard they were hiring an account executive. I had nothing really tying me down to Texas or to Waco specifically, and so I was really open to going anywhere. And just through that relationship connection, was able to become account executive as my first job with the San Francisco 49ers. And it was a really good opportunity. Spent about 3 years there, closed down Candlestick Park, helped open up Levi Stadium, actually became Legends, which is a third party sports consulting company, had been hired by the 49ers to help do the sales initiatives for the San Francisco 49ers. And so got really good experience of being an employee on the team side, being an employee on the agency side. Some of the best sales experience I had to date. I was with 30, 40 other people who had the same goals and objectives. And can't say I understood this then, but I just knew that if you don't control your career, someone else is going to control it for you. And so it was always about what's the next thing, because there's just only so many opportunities once a project is complete. And it was just actually just networking and opportunities. Baylor was in the process of building a new football stadium. Legends had actually done some consulting work for Baylor and that administration. They weren't hired from a sales perspective, but they were familiar with the project, applied for it, and it was a director of ticketing for Baylor Athletics with the emphasis on selling and building out a team for football specifically, but obviously you in college athletics, you do a lot of the other sports, and being able to hire a staff, train a staff, work with upper level management on from a pricing perspective, a marketing perspective. It was refreshing to get a different perspective compared to how the NFL is run. NFL back then, just like it is today, is very strong in a lot of the business metrics. College athletics was playing catch up back then, and then still to some extent playing catch up now. But it was a job that, once with the success that would happen on the field, became a very easy opportunity to have a lot of success. I was looking for more of a challenge as someone in my mid to late 20s at that point, and it wasn't going to get that at Baylor. Wasn't really going to see that in college athletics. Got into a lot of tiffs, I'd say. I think one of my personal things I look at is, use data to make decisions. Don't make decisions based on feeling or gut or just because you've been in a place for so long. It definitely didn't always see eye to eye in some of the older administration that was there. Still got along great, but just different perspectives on thinking, and knew I just needed to find that next thing, or it was going to be a place I was going to get stuck in. And through my network, heard about Vegas starting an NHL expansion team. This is 2015. And so stayed in contact with that type of project. And then early 2016, a gentleman, mentor, friend of mine by the name of Todd Pollock reached out and was like, hey, this Vegas hockey thing is going to be real. I need a number two within ticketing. Can you come, help, start this up with me? And I said, absolutely. So July of 2016, left Baylor Athletics to move to Vegas, and was probably a little apprehensive just because, Vegas can be a distracting space, but um,
Yeah.
I visited before I accepted the job, and I drove around. And Vegas suburbs are just like every other city. Sure, there's a local casino that's got some good restaurants and some fun activities, but outside of that, it's just like everywhere else. And I felt really comfortable and safe being able to take that plunge and jump into a startup perspective. I mean, we didn't have a player, didn't have a coach, didn't have a GM, hadn't named the team at that point. No branding. It was truly just boots on the ground, becoming the first major professional sports team in the city of Las Vegas. And it was just really educating the market, and was really fortunate to be able to build a sales team, built a service team, built a premium team, and had instant success her first year, being able to go to the Stanley Cup, losing in 5 games, but still just the city was really responded
Yeah.
and very favorably of just kind of taking over the town. And that I guess was my second year, was the first year of the season, so it was 27, and that really spun onto a 7.5 year career within Vegas, working my way up to vice president of ticketing and premium. Shortly thereafter, we'd made some acquisitions, built a new arena in Henderson, which is the east side of Vegas, acquiring an AHL team, had indoor football. We also brought in some G League basketball, and had an opportunity to become the chief operating officer, running all the business operations specifically for the indoor football league team, the Vegas Nighthawks, and the AHL team, the Henderson Silver Knights. And that was a really good experience of business operations, right? So you're ticketing, customer service, marketing, partnerships, fan entertainment, engagement, communication, your social content, everything really from a business perspective. Got to work together with a very strong team, obviously leverage what we were able to do on the Vegas Golden Knights side of the business, but it was a really good opportunity. 2 years, of being top 5 in ticket revenue, partnership revenue, voted as the best in-game experience by our peers. But one of the cool things about the job was I was able to represent our ownership as the board of governors, and so we'd go out to Chicago a couple times a year, and I was around a lot of older gentlemen, but loved hockey. Like they were just hockey guys. And here I am, not only the new kid on the block, but also a lot younger. And I think this is great experience, but I definitely have higher aspirations for what this is. And in talking to my boss at that time, Kerry Boobles, who was the president and CEO of the Vegas Golden Knights, there wasn't necessarily going to be a path back in an executive leadership role, and so I just knew that if I wanted to do something, I was going to need to find it on my own, and was fortunate enough to see this opportunity here at Texas Tech as the chief revenue officer. Didn't know Kirby Hocutt, who's our athletic director. Didn't have a relationship with Turnkey, who ended up with doing the search, and just similar how you reached out to me, Ryan. I sent a cold DM to the recruiter, let her know that I applied, and I won't go into long details of that, but the short answer is that I was able to impress Kirby and the other people I interviewed with to be able to get the opportunity. So in fall 23, left Vegas, and my best sales job to date was convincing my wife, who I met in Vegas, that hey, we're going to move to Lubbock. After some initial tears, she saw that this was going to be the next best opportunity for us, and we yeah, we moved here in the November of 23, and so now I've been here a little over 2 years. My responsibilities here at Tech really rely on just generating revenue. So you think of our internal components of things that have already been established. So looking at our pricing models for football, basketball, and all of our other sports, understanding how our renewal model is and our timelines, and trying to use data to make decisions as far as strategy. College athletics is really in a different sphere today than it was when I was first at Baylor. And so being able to apply some of the opportunities and experiences that I have had at other places, obviously NIL, retail, licensing is a big piece of what I do from a revenue perspective. And then the buzzword that we all talk about in this industry is new revenue. And new revenue comes into concert. And so it took me a little bit longer than I wanted to, was able to land a major concert. We'll have George Strait here this spring, 2 shows. And so
Congrats.
yeah, that'll be really big for us, just as a new stream of dollars coming into the athletic department that we'll be able to utilize and strengthen our core business as well. So that's the long version. But yeah, been here at Texas Tech, and it's been a great opportunity experience so far.
Yeah. No, you definitely taking out on on a limb with Texas Tech. You definitely had the background and resume for that, and it's just all about finishing for that. I kind of want to go back to the start. I know that was a little bit ago, but I'm in pretty much the same spot, same position, account exec at for Legends at KU right now. So similar to what you were doing early on, and I like how you said you have to control your career or it'll get controlled. I can definitely see that now, having worked for a couple months, where it's like if you just stay stagnant or if you just stay mellow, it's just you're just gonna have this position and it's you're not maximizing your opportunities. How did you kind of for yourself control your career and be like, hey, I can do much more. I can go out on a limb and I can kind of go elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a perfect science. I think for me, like my goals are, well, what am I working towards? What am I working for? If I continue on this college athletic path, which is what my probably option 1A is, it is to be a Power Four athletic director. That's what I'm working for. I let everyone know that those are my goals. Obviously, would love that to be at Texas Tech in the future, but I'm open to anywhere, right? And you are where your feet are. So I'm all in on Texas Tech. I understand that I'm still working for something more. The other option is going back to the pros and president on with a major sports team. Like I think there's a lot of intrigue and opportunity there. Obviously, a little bit more commercially driven than college athletics is, given the education component of higher education. But those are the things that I'm working towards. And it's, when I evaluate a future opportunity, I'm like, is this opportunity going to get me closer or further away? I think there are a couple points in my career where I think from an outside perspective, it looks like a step down. Going from the NFL about to open up Levi Stadium when the 49ers just lost the Super Bowl, to going to college athletics at Baylor, who had not had any success in football, looked probably like a like a difficult move. But from my
Yeah.
perspective, I was going to get more experience in hiring, being able to strategize, on working with the senior administration on certain elements as it relates to sales, ticketing, fundraising, etc. A little bit of the same component of leaving the Vegas Golden Knights as a VP, having a lot of oversight into how we do or handle our ticketing service, premium experience business, but leaving to get more experience at the minor league level of having more on my plate. I don't believe that in each of the opportunities that I have received or earned has led me to the next spot. I don't know if I would have been able to be the chief revenue officer at Texas Tech if I didn't have that minor league experience in Vegas. Um, and as I evaluate future opportunities, it's okay, is this going to get me closer? The most important thing that I really look at is who's going to be your boss. um, don't get me wrong, title's important, what you do is important, the financial component is important, location. But if your boss is the one that's going to be championing you, that's the one that's going to be teaching you, hopefully taking you under your wing. Everyone does it differently. I mean, you can't fault a boss who doesn't do that versus ones that do, because every situation is different. But you want to make sure you're going to someone that understands what your goals are. And so that's probably the best way to evaluate from a risk standpoint.
Yeah, that's probably perfect and right on the money for that. Yeah, I love that the key fact of like who is your boss and like are they just gonna bring you up or just kind of keep you at the same level. That transition into kind of back and forth into collegiate and pro. What were some challenges and then what were some kind of similarities you saw where it's like, oh, this is just same sport, different league.
Yeah, sort of similarities first. I think it can be boiled down to one thing. If you can generate revenue, there will be a place for you. It doesn't matter if it's college, it doesn't matter if it's pros. Revenue's always been important. Obviously, there's been higher priorities of that in college athletics today than ever before. But if you can find a way to generate revenue, there will always be a position for you. And I do think you'll see a lot more people go between different teams, both from the pro side and the college side. I think one of the biggest differences is scope. When you are working for a pro team, your scope is a lot smaller. Usually it's one team, depending on how big the ownership group portfolio is. Um, but like as a entry level employee, as a even at the mid tier levels as managers, directors, your scope is very defined. College, your scope is a little bit more. You get to be able to touch a little bit more, and I'd probably say the same with minor league sports, to be fair. But going to the college space, you can be touching 5 or 6 different sports in a very short matter of time. Like right now, it's crossover season. We just finished football. We got men's and basketball kicking into high gear of conference play, and then we got baseball and softball starting up next month. And so you're touching some ways all of those, and so I think those are big differences, and you got to be very strategic in your time. It can be very easy to be distracted or focus on one thing. I usually prioritize my time based on amount of revenue. We are very fortunate to have a very successful softball team. We put some things in place over the last 12 to 18 months that has helped us triple our revenue. But as we go into this year, we're in a really good spot where growth might be a little bit more, I don't want to say stagnant, but just not as exponential. And it's much easier for me to go brainstorm some new football revenue components that would dwarf anything that I'm able to generate on the softball side. That doesn't mean that we don't care about softball. We absolutely care about softball, but I think from a time perspective, um, anything that we can do in football that can generate more revenue is going to have a profound effect on the entire athletic department.
Yeah. Yeah, what are some new ideas, or just kind of new implementations you guys have been, like you mentioned, then in the 12 to 18 months, or just in general, kind of what have you seen have success and then kind of maybe not have success in other areas?
Um, you
You don't have
know,
to go like into specific
yeah,
detail to like
yeah.
to open the curtain, but just kind of like in general.
I mean, short premium sells. The more premium you can create, there's going to be and some type of event experience, right? That's really something that I try to incorporate here. We had a new football stadium renovation on our south end zone that opened up last year, fall 2024, and there was a club down at the bottom. And the traditional model with the club is that you get access with it when you with your club seats or suite or whatever a premium product is. But a decision that was made was no, we're going to create an extra ticket for this. So you have to have another ticket in the stadium. So whether you have a suite or you are just in the upper bowl corner end zone on the opposite side of the stadium, you could, in theory, have the ability to buy a second ticket at access to this club. It started off that year as a $400,000 additional revenue. We were able to grow that to about 750,000 in additional revenue this past fall, in fall 25. And as we look at 26, like we're targeting $1 million, right? And so that's exponential growth that has meaningful impact on what we do across the landscape within college athletics. I think this is not as this is definitely not a newer idea, but consolidating your ticketing efforts, especially from a secondary market partner, can be extremely lucrative with a profit share model. And it can be extremely lucrative in the sense of you got successful teams. And so that was something that we've incorporated and have seen or will see at the end of this year some much higher numbers. I mean, I think in short, and look, this is not a testament to myself. This is a testament to the team and being prepared for success, which we've had in football. But when I got here in fall 23, we did about 9.8 million in football revenue. This year, when you add up everything, it's going to be just under 15 million. Now, obviously, we won the Big 12 last year. It's not credit in the sense of, but the credit was the players, the coaches, and winning, because winning does solve a lot of problems. But it's preparing for that as a success, being ready to implement dynamic pricing, understanding that some tickets might sell higher on the secondary market than your primary market, uh, and those are things that our CFO and our AD will look at and say, "This is money that we weren't expecting." And then, how do you implement it to drive the greater good of college athletics? And trying to making sure we're utilizing those resources effectively.
Yeah, I think that's very similar to us or I guess us at KU opening up a new football stadium. Same
Hmm.
situations you kinda have with the suites and, extra tickets, and we did implement that too for our field club, level suites or our field club, hospitality. So, yeah, it's very similar, and, yeah, I just kinda like hearing that side and another kinda another stadium for that type of stuff too, so that's super cool. Going back to, like, Baylor and then obviously the Golden Knights, what's it like opening up, kinda you said from the ground up, you gave a little tidbit of that, but, like, what's it like? You're pretty much starting from scratch, from the ground. I know
Yeah,
probably definitely stressful, and you probably have some, like, PTSD and stuff, but, like, what was that like?
man, no, I really don't have a ton of PTSD. Maybe I wasn't high enough yet, but I've been really fortunate to be part of um, Levi Stadium opening up, Baylor, McLean Stadium at Baylor opening up, starting a new team in Vegas. T-Mobile Arena had already technically been opened up a few months before hockey started playing, or I guess maybe a year before. But anytime you get to build something new, there's definitely a sense of pride um, and excitement, right? I think there's plenty of organizations that haven't necessarily done the right renovations. Or their renovations are very different than some of the things that I just discussed. And sometimes it can be stagnant. It can be the same old, same old. And so I think anytime you're able to get something that's new, different, exciting, that gives fans a reason to maybe come back that haven't been around because it's a new experience, right? It's we like I'll use something that's really commonplace in the pros, but I feel like it's still lagging in certain areas, and that's mobile parking. As crazy as that sounds, like mobile parking definitely can create a more seamless experience. And you're actually we have a lot of fans here that go to games in Dallas and those pro teams, and I'm pretty sure, I guess I don't know for a fact, that all of them use some sort of digital parking. That's been a struggle here to be able to turn the tide. And there's a lot of reasons why that is. But I think if you're able to offer something that's new, the technology should be more friendly to create a more seamless experience. That could easily be a catalyst for someone to come to something that they're currently not.
Yeah, yeah, that transition part is obviously definitely a hard one, but once it's there and
Hmm.
everyone can kind of figure it out, it can definitely be seamless. I see that now as being the front lines for the phone calls and the ticket office. You've seen the mobile. people having trouble and transferring tickets and mobile tickets and stuff. But once everyone pretty much figures it out, you can kind of see, oh, it's just a lot easier than what it was in the past.
Yeah, and on that point, when you do something new, you can kind of reset the guidelines, right? It's like, well, this because of this piece being new, and that it doesn't necessarily tie together, but you're going to tie it together because you're setting a different bar for the experience and things that might be easier to operate from an operational perspective. Like, there's always going to be hiccups, right? And so but it's, the number of complaints that we've got as a department this year on mobile ticketing is less than it was last year, and it just continues to improve, and people will adapt and adjust, and the technology will continue to get better as well. And so, yeah, I just think that anytime you can tie an initiative, especially in an established organization, to something that's with newer technology, usually is a good way to go about it. And look, it's cheesy, but rip off the band-aid. There's going to be, let people get frustrated, let people, that's long term, it'll work out for the short term gain. And sometimes that can always be challenging to incorporate.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Kind of skipping up to your current position as CRO. How do you balance? You were mentioning it a little bit earlier with like where the revenue is coming from, but how do you balance all the revenue streams? Yeah, like ticketing, sponsorships, premium that we were talking about a little bit, NIL. How is that balance on you, and then also others around yourself?
Yeah, I don't know how we've gone through 25 minutes of this call that haven't used the words NIL, but
I
that
know.
is,
It's
but yeah, from an external NIL perspective, I think it's something that we're always looking to be innovative with. We're always looking to if you want to be one of the elite schools in football, men's basketball, you've got to find a way to utilize external NIL. Being creative with our MR partner, Learfield, has definitely been a big plus. Alignment from what we do on a fundraising perspective, what we do on the university level, the decisions that we make have got to be, we all got to be in sync. Um, and we're very fortunate to have great leadership that allows us to be creative. Working with the CSC and NIL Go is really really critical. But I think you have to move quickly, and you have to be adaptable to be able to execute. And I think we've done that at a very high level. Um, and I think as I look at other aspects, right, um, Texas Tech is really in a fortunate position. We've got a Big 12 championship football team that has got another top transfer portal class coming in for the fall of 25. Men's basketball is ranked in the top 15. Our ladies are ranked in the top 25. Softball is preseason number one, and baseball's got some high expectations. So it's very rare, I think, for to see some of all of our or to see that many teams within one school be able to have that success, and that actually allows, especially from a ticketing front, where we know we're going to be able to sell and not only meet budget but exceed revenue goals, to get creative on what can we do to continue to push it. Um, I'll speak specifically like our women's basketball team, the Lady Raiders, were not expected to have as good of a year as they had so far. And so now we've gone through and been like, okay, well, how do we go capitalize on this? So, how are we getting season ticket deposits for next year? How are we continuing to dynamically price tickets to be able to meet the demand that is now coming in that we weren't expecting? So, I think from that piece, it's continuing to push. Just because you're successful, renewals are going well in football. Okay, that's great. But now what's next, right? We can't just depend on that. We got to expect, to be able to push ourselves, because at some point we all know it's a cycle. You have your good years, and then you may not have as good of years, and you want to make sure you keep your fan base engaged from an experience standpoint and a fundraising perspective.
Yeah, for sure. You see that, and the likes of you guys, Indiana and football. Just you could turn it around that quick nowadays with a little help from everything, and
And
especially NIL kind of helps balance everything out in that sense.
Yeah, and that's a really good point because, so as a Baylor grad, I've got a lot of friends that still support Baylor, and they're very frustrated at the situation that Baylor is in. And I'm like, but this can turn around in 1 year. It used to be, okay, let's get a couple of recruiting classes, and then or get the next coach or whatever that situation is. And it's like, no, you get a couple players, and maybe, I think they have a new D coordinator. Maybe that's what turns it around, but it can happen in 1 year. And that's what I mean, that to me is how you're gonna keep people that's how you actually are gonna get more fans and keep people more engaged. I know it's frustrating to see players come and go each year versus the 3, 4, or 5 years that players might be out of school. And yes, that has changed a little bit and it's different, but I actually think that in the long term, you're going to see this play out in a much more positive way because just like the NFL now, the four teams are Rams, Broncos, Patriots, and Seahawks. Like that's very different than it was the four teams last year. And I think that anyone could win, right? And I think we're going to get to that point where anyone can win, especially in football, men's basketball, because of how much change can happen in one year.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, the 1 year turnaround, 2 year turnaround, it's definitely possible, and it's exciting to see. It just brings, like we mentioned, a lot more revenue and a lot more eyes to the game and whatever that is, you know. Like I mentioned, Indiana and other stuff. Like us in football, three years ago, we had like 8 wins, and that just shifted the whole thing. That like started the kind of rolling of the new stadium and all that stuff, and it just got a lot of eyes and attention more to us, and so it's just little things like that. For sponsorships and stuff like that, do you deal with a lot of the sponsorships, and kinda how does that play out when you're trying to coordinate and I guess brand deals and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, great question. And yes, one of the things that I've been really focused on is making sure that our local shop within Learfield is more connected to Texas Tech athletics. We just went through a renewal with Learfield and an extension that'll take us through 2037. And one of the biggest pieces of that is rebranding to Texas Tech Athletic Partners compared to right now, it's called Red Raider Sports Properties. So we want it to be more connected from, hey, when someone does a partnership, yes, Learfield might be doing the contract, but it is you represent Texas Tech Athletic Partners. There is this thing where you could donate to the fundraising group and have more connectivity than what a corporate partner might be feel connected to. And so won't be perfect. We'll take time, but we really want to bridge that gap of partners be feeling like they're more connected to Texas Tech athletics. In addition to, we created some space here at our we office out of our football stadium, and we found some space that we're currently building out that they'll move into here in the next 6 to 12 months. So they will truly be part of everything that we do from an athletic standpoint. Versus they're half a mile down the road, and so I think making them feel and be more integrated will be a big piece of it. And then being engaged in some of our renewals. I'd say I'm probably more engaged in some of the conversation and the strategy. But we just had a renewal pitch a couple weeks ago with a renewing a partner that we hope will renew, and had our deputy in that meeting, had our athletic director in that meeting, even had someone from the university to show alignment. That's even talking to some of the Learfield executives. It's a newer approach, and we think it makes a big impact. Even though we're not talking that much, our GM is presenting in this specific example, but it's definitely a representative of what we want the future of partnerships to look like. We're going to do the same thing with naming rights as we go down that road of football. Jersey patch. I mean, when you look at some of these high 6, 7 figure spends that we're going to be asking companies, making sure they understand at the highest level that we are engaged with it, it's going to be really important.
You ever see Mahomes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been here twice now since I've been here. Haven't met him personally or anything like that, but yeah, it's pretty invaluable to have someone like him that gives back his time, his energy, doesn't have a lot of expectations, truly cares and loves Texas Tech and wants to see the best for it. Really refreshing, and we're very lucky to have him as an ambassador.
Yeah, it's one thing that Tech and most KU fans can agree on is Patrick Mahomes, because a lot of our fan base is definitely from Kansas City, and
For sure.
like I said, it's only 45 minutes away. So easy path there. But yeah, that's one thing that we can like together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so to round it out, first again, appreciate you taking the time today. Uh, yeah, appreciate it very much. I kind of like to round them out with more like personal and just stuff and advice for future people maybe wanting to go down your path or just in sports in general. Yeah, I'll just start with that. The advice that you have for the incoming person coming out of college or in college looking to network and get in touch with people and kind of be in the same sport industry, what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, the short thing is, have an objective beyond what you're up with the role you're in or the role you're applying for. It's gonna change. The number of times that I thought that maybe I'm out of sports or maybe I don't wanna be an AD or a president, you go through a revolving door, and you never know what opportunities might come up that you might consider or change, and that's okay. But having a goal that's out there for you to reach because this job can be challenging at times. This can definitely wear on you. It's a lot of long hours. I mean, in essence, we do two full-time jobs, whether it's what we do at each of the sporting events and what we do from Monday through Friday and early in the morning and at night, depending on what the job entails. So it takes a lot out of you, and I think you need to have something that you're really stretching for to be able to believe in the future of what you're trying to accomplish. I think the second piece too, I think we get into this patience, and I'm guilty of this too, of like, oh, I want more and I want whatever want to achieve in the future, I want it today. And look, I'm 38 years old going on 39, and whether I get to my goals at 45, 50, or 60, it really doesn't matter. It's all about the right opportunity that is in front of you. And I truly believe if people stick with what their objective is, if that's the right opportunity for them, then it's gonna happen. But I think that what scares a lot of people is the timepiece. It's like, "Oh, well, I'm stuck, and now I don't I'm gonna give up." I think that happens, and we have a lot of good people in this industry, and look, it happens. It's probably happens in every industry, but I definitely encourage people, to really stick it out and making sure that if you do leave, it's for the right thing and you're not running away from something.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's great advice, and, especially that last key part too. Um, Another thing, I guess being on the sales side and kind of being front facing with, donors and fans and alike, how did you find or how are you continuously finding your confidence in yourself and, kind of what you believe in? Obviously, believe in your product and it'll come a lot easier, but just if any other self-doubt or, like, just kinda confidence in yourself can build, how did you find it or how are you finding it?
Um, I'd say trying to dumb it down as much as possible. At the end of the day, I like right now, I'm just having a conversation with Ryan, right? Like not thinking like if you were a donor or someone that had potential to give a lot of money or do a partnership or maybe something external NIL, I'm not and I'm like self-doubting or not sure this is gonna work. It's like just be a friend, right? Like yeah, I think it's just making a connection. People like to do things with people that they like. And at the end of the day, if I like to believe that we could be fast friends and try to connect on a lot of things and talk for the next couple hours on who knows what. You're
Yeah.
gonna warm up and at the end of the day, asking what that ask is and then understanding, um, what the potential response is and not letting your confidence drop if it doesn't work out because you're hopefully playing the long game. And then just kind of on that piece too, just because I felt myself doing it in that exact moment, it's really easy to overtalk. Like a lot of times, shut up and just let them talk, right? Or just let there be silence for a couple seconds. It's not the end of the world. Like sometimes I think as if people in my shoes or those on the fundraising side or ticketing side, like if there is silence, you'll overtalk yourself out of whatever you're trying to pitch. And sometimes it's okay to less is more. You'll always get to it. There usually will be follow-up phone calls or emails or text conversations. And so, sometimes it's best to slow down, take a breath, and, then re-engage.
Yeah, that question was definitely a personal one for me, as I'm still kind of finding the voice and confidence, and I think that last part was, um, definitely the best, where it's like to slow down and not overtalk. Because when I'm on the phone with people, I do have a tendency to overtalk, and it's just like sometimes it's a two-sentence answer, and I spread it out for 2 paragraphs, and it's just kind of finding that balance and talking with them and, yeah, allowing the pauses like you mentioned too is definitely really huge and something I need to learn as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last thing, Chase, stuff that you wish you knew, in the shoes of a 22 or 21-year-old that would help you and succeeding down the line in the next 20 to 30 years in your career.
Yeah, I think it's probably some things that I've mentioned in the past, but I think, really lean into who your boss is going to be. Um, the idea in sports truly is to um, to move up, you gotta be willing to move around, right? Like the number of people that feel like my friends that feel like I've abandoned all my Dallas sports teams or my Baylor fandom. It's like, look, there's a difference in being a fan and wanting to do this for a career. And so I think you have to be willing to take risks and sign up for some of those things. And like at the end of the day, like it's truly business first, and everything else comes second. And making sure you get those priorities at a young age is going to be really important. And look, I think it's doing the little things. I know, especially in college athletics, like a lot of people are hourly without overtime unless there's a game. Like, who cares? Like, if you've got goals of being bigger and better, what it is, like, do things that will at home that better you. Do things at lunch that better you. Doing things after hours, like, and only you know what that better is. But like, um, I think truly trying to set the tone, especially in an environment, a culture where a lot of people are doing the same thing that you're doing, you got to find ways to set yourself apart.
Yeah, for sure. Setting yourself apart and doing the little things is definitely two biggest takeaways that I can take of. And then obviously everything else. But Chase, I appreciate it. I won't take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much, and say hi to Zach Wetzel for me.
I will. Sounds
Yeah,
good. I appreciate
every
it,
time he
Ryan.
comes, yeah, every time he comes back, he always stops by and says hi. So
Good.
tell him I
Do you
say
know?
hi.
Do you know Colin?
Sexton.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Nice.
just passed him in the hallway
Oh,
on the
that's
way to
awesome.
on on the way here, and I said what's up, and yeah, I have a good relationship with him as well. He's
That's good.
awesome, dude.
He's a great dude. I've gotten to know him a little bit just at some Big 12 meetings, and no, he's a good guy, and we stay in contact. So that's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
awesome. But Chase, thank you, and
Yep.
yeah, I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Cool. I appreciate it, Ryan. Take care.
Thank you. See ya.
See you, man.